Imitation crab can make for a yummy and cost-effective alternative to real crab. But beware the myths and misconceptions that could impact your wallet, health, or taste buds when it comes to faux crab. Just like its name suggests, imitation crab doesn't contain any crab meat, nor does it taste all that much like it. Instead, the predominant ingredient in the food is fish, which is used to make surimi. For those not in the know, surimi is a processed paste made from minced white fish, usually pollock, and a host of other ingredients such as starch, salt, and sugar, all of which are processed together, then shaped, cooked, and dyed to resemble crab meat.
Do you know if this is imitation crab?
While it's usually quite easy to tell imitation crab apart from the real thing, if you're ever in doubt, take a close look at the label. While most imitation crab products are clearly branded as such, they sometimes come under other names, such as crab-flavored seafood, crab sticks, crab with a K, and surimi seafood. In Japan, where imitation crab first came to light, it's also typically called kamaboko. In addition, while processed crab usually only contains crab and water, imitation crab will usually contain an entire shopping list of ingredients, from fillers like starch and egg white to artificial flavoring and preservatives. Sometimes called the hot dog of the sea, crab sticks are made from deboned, washed, and minced fish flesh. While in the old days surimi was made from bycatch deemed too low quality for the grocery store shelves, things have changed since then. Today, most imitation crab manufacturers use minced Alaska pollock, blue whiting, arrowtooth flounder, or Pacific whiting to make their products. The most frequently utilized fish in substitute crab meat is Alaska pollock, which makes up between 50 to 70% of all surimi. Small amounts of fish oil may also be present in the product. Also sometimes referred to as walleye pollock, Alaska pollock is native to the North Pacific and the East Bering Sea. It's also one of the most popular fish choices in the US. Like many other fish, Alaska pollock is low in calories, high in protein, and a good source of omega-3 fatty acids. It's also low in mercury, making it a relatively safe option for those who are concerned about toxins. Although crab substitutes are readily available on supermarket shelves in the US today, the practice of grinding and salting fish dates back hundreds of years in Japan. However, it wasn't until the 1960s that surimi started to be made and preserved with sugar, a method that significantly extended its shelf life. Crab substitute, as we know it today, was first introduced by the Sugio Company in 1974. Known as kanimam, the product initially took the form of flakes. Imitation crab flakes are still the main ingredient in kani salad, a Japanese dish that combines the crab proxy with ingredients like mango and cucumber. Imitation crab sticks were invented by Osaki Suisan in 1975. The product slowly made its way to America, where it was sold at grocery stores and served at restaurants. By the end of the 80s, Americans were consuming around 135 million pounds of imitation crab annually. Faux crab meat was invented as a budget-friendly alternative to crab meat. In today's U.S. retail market, real crab can cost more than $30 per pound, whereas imitation crab sticks typically cost around a sixth of that. While imitation crab is not necessarily as good for you as eating the real stuff, it's not as devoid of nutrients as some people believe. However, it's important to remember that since different manufacturers fill their imitation crab with different ingredients, not all products have the same nutritional content. The healthy component of fake crab meat is usually white fish, but since ground fish only makes up between 35 and 50% of fake crab meat, the exact nutritional content of the product can vary. Imitation crab arguably has numerous health benefits. It's relatively low in calories, fat, and cholesterol. It's also a decent source of protein and contains key minerals including phosphorus and selenium. While fake crab meat has quite a lot of sodium, a 3-ounce serving of the product contains around 700 milligrams. This is lower than the 900 milligrams of sodium typically found in the same portion of real crab. The concern regarding imitation crab is the variety of additives often used in the product, including artificial flavorings, MSG, gums, and preservatives like sodium benzoate and phosphates. While just about all imitation crab meat contains some sort of white fish, the type of fish and its percentage in comparison to other ingredients can vary from brand to brand. This means that not all fake crab meat is going to taste the same. Quite the opposite. While lower quality imitation crab may do the job in casseroles, it's probably best to opt for premium brand options if you're eating the seafood proxy as a snack or making sushi. Take a bite and you'll likely be able to tell the difference. In terms of imitation crab brands, Mashed recommends the Japanese Osaki brand, the same brand that invented imitation crab sticks in the 70s. Available at some Asian specialty stores in the US, Osaki is made with Alaska pollock, southern blue whiting, wheat starch, egg whites, cornstarch, rice wine, crab extract, and MSG. Thinking that imitation crab is raw and can't be eaten straight out of the package is a common misconception that boils down to a lack of information about how it's typically made. In reality, the fish and other ingredients that make up imitation crab are already thoroughly cooked. The resulting paste is then shaped and pasteurized to rid it of any bacteria. This process makes the product safe to consume without being subjected to high temperatures. Of course, you can still warm up imitation crab if you're adding it to certain dishes, but that's more of a taste preference than a necessity. Given that practically all brands are pre-cooked, imitation crab can substantially cut down on prep time in the kitchen. Nevertheless, when dealing with faux crab meat, it's still important to pay attention to a number of other safety considerations. For instance, people who are allergic to fish, gluten, crab extract, and eggs should be especially mindful of the ingredients listed on imitation crab products. Those sensitive to allergens should also be wary of unlabeled crab substitutes, as well as imitation crab that may be served as appetizers at events. While one of the upsides of imitation crab is its low price tag, not all crab substitutes are budget-friendly. In fact, in Japan, high-end imitation crab is becoming something of a delicacy. The product is specifically made to resemble the flavor and texture of the real thing. This price trend seems to be spreading globally, with one Redditor posting a photo of a 12-ounce portion of an imitation crab stuffed dish for $13.98 and complaining, "Is it just me, or is the price of imitation crab meat getting out of whack?" Some imitation crab manufacturers are even experimenting with ways to bring consumers more sophisticated versions of the product. For instance, in 2023, Sujio launched Kaoribako Kiwami. Based on the flavor of snow crab, the product marries the umami flavor of male crabs with the juicy texture of female crabs, as well as a secret ingredient that gives it the aroma of real crab. In addition, some imitation crab products in Japan actually contain real crab meat, a factor that, according to Keiko Kubo of Jetro, a Japanese trade organization, elevates them to sushi grade and makes them more expensive. While imitation crab may look like a product that could be left in the refrigerator for months, the reality is a little different. In fact, once the vacuum-sealed packaging is opened, fake crab should be treated like any other seafood. The USDA recommends that cooked seafood, such as imitation crab, be stored in the refrigerator for up to 3 to 4 days. Of course, that's provided that the refrigerator's internal temperature is under 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Once taken out of the refrigerator, imitation crab should be eaten within 2 hours. Vacuum-sealed packages of imitation crab can be kept in the refrigerator until their use-by or sell-by date. If you don't think you'll be able to eat the product within that time period, you can freeze it to prolong its shelf life up to 9 months. Once thawed, the product should be eaten within 3 days regardless of whether it's been taken out of the packaging or not. To thaw imitation crab, transfer it from the freezer to the refrigerator 24 hours before use. Alternatively, soak the product in cold water for between 15 minutes and an hour based on the package size. If you're not sure if your crab proxy is still safe to eat, then turn to your senses. Take a look at and a whiff of the imitation crab. If you detect an unpleasant fishy odor, slimy surface, or sour taste, those are sure signs of spoilage. If you think that by eating imitation crab as opposed to real crab, you're doing your bit for the environment, you may want to rethink your strategy. This is because surimi often contains Alaska pollock, or another species of white fish. More precisely, approximately 2 to 3% of the global fish haul has historically been used to make surimi, according to a 2007 report by the Globefish Research Program. While NOAA Fisheries currently states that Alaska pollock isn't being overfished in the eastern Bering Sea and other Alaska-adjacent fisheries, the situation in other areas isn't as clear. What we do know, however, is that the extraction of Alaska pollock has an effect on other sea life and the marine habitat. The ecological repercussions associated with imitation crab vary across the industry. While some manufacturers are mindful of sustainable fishing practices, others aren't as conscientious. For instance, certain fishing methods can cause significant damage to marine habitats. They can also result in high levels of bycatch, where unintended sea life is caught and even discarded. Since imitation crab contains fish, it's not an option for those following a vegetarian or vegan diet. But that's not the whole story. Imitation crab often also contains starch and wheat, which means that it's not suitable for people with celiac disease or those sensitive to gluten. That said, there are brands that produce gluten-free imitation crab, such as Transocean Imitation Crab, a company that has been certified by the National Foundation for Celiac Awareness as a gluten-free food processor. People sensitive to certain allergens should always read the label on imitation crab products, much as they would for any other food. This is necessary even if you're already familiar with the product.
Pay attention.
As one Redditor claimed, Aldi got me once for years. Their Fremont imitation crab was gluten-free. They changed suppliers during the beginning of the pandemic when I was ordering grocery pickup and thus not checking labels in store, to one that uses wheat, yet the packaging looked exactly the same. It can't be overstated that aside from gluten, imitation crab may contain other allergens. While surimi is normally made from fish, it can contain traces of crab, making it a no-no for those who are allergic to shellfish. Imitation crab can also include other potential allergens, such as eggs, milk, and tree nuts. Additionally, anyone who may be sensitive to MSG should keep an eye out for the terms glutamic acid, monosodium glutamate, or glutamate on the product's ingredients list.